Story 1. Am I the a-hole for not re-inviting my sister and her family to my wedding after we changed it? My fiance and I planned to have a large wedding in July at a venue in the country. I guess that was too out of the way for most people because only 14 people RSVP'd that they were coming. We had already set aside money for our wedding, and since there was no longer going to be a lot of people coming, we decided to splurge. So we asked everyone who RSVP'd that they were coming if they could take a few extra days off for a longer trip to Hawaii, all expenses paid by us. Everyone said yes, so we started booking tickets and suites at this nice resort. We also planned some fun things to do while we were there. Everyone is very excited for the trip. Now my sister, who RSVP'd that she and her family weren't coming, is upset that I didn't re-invite her when we changed plans. She thinks that since it's basically a different trip, they should have been told. Originally, she said she couldn't come to our wedding because that time of year is very difficult for her and her husband because the summer is the busiest time for their business. They have a landscaping business. Also, she said that traveling that far with all her kids would be difficult because of the long car ride. It would have been around a 3-hour drive from where she lives. So it doesn't make any sense to me for her to say that she can go on a longer trip even farther away. The plane trip is almost 9 hours long. Also, she says it's unfair because our brother and his family gets to go while hers doesn't. That's making her kids feel left out because their cousins are going and my sister says it's like playing favorites. My sister and her family would be 5 more people, so even if we wanted to re-invite them, it would cause us to go way over our budget. The only other option would be to drastically downgrade the trip we already promised everyone. It just seems totally unfair to everyone else. And my sister also thinks I'm being unfair and says we pulled a reverse bait and switch. Edit. Oh boy, sorry, but I'm definitely not going to be reading all these comments. Top comments. Not the a-hole. She doesn't want to celebrate your wedding, she wants Hawaii. She can pay for that herself. This is 100%. OP wants a free trip. Too bad. Just tell her, I'm sorry you feel that way, but is your busy season suddenly less busy? Can your kids suddenly handle a longer trip? You told me those were your reasons for not coming, and those reasons haven't changed. So let's move on. If she keeps pushing, let her know that your budget is maxed out, but you'd never stop her from coming. They'll just have to pay for themselves. Now the whole family can have fun together. Watch how fast she backtracks. OP is definitely not the a-hole. Sounds like OP's sister just wanted a free vacation. OP's sister wasn't interested in going to the wedding to support OP or their partner. They just wanted a free trip to Hawaii. OP should definitely make them pay themselves. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for having a better wedding than my sister-in-law? I'm a casual Reddit browser, but I've never engaged with the community before because I never thought something this wild would happen. But here we are. I'm 29 female, from a middle-class family, and have an older brother, 35 male. Let's call him Adrian. He's a self-taught software engineer and makes pretty good money. A little over 1 year ago, he married his girlfriend, 28 female, of 6 years. Let's call her Heather. She's not a bad person, but I think she's a little bit spoiled. She's the type that loves to brag about all the expensive stuff her husband bought her, and their wedding was pretty extravagant. She still loves to talk about how it was the most amazing wedding she's ever been to. My brother is kind of wrapped around her finger, but it never really mattered until now. I met my fiance, 36 male, about 4 years ago. It was a business event and he owns a decently sized and very successful company, so saying that he's extremely wealthy. Since he grew up less than, he loves to spend his money on things him and his family could only dream about before. One of those things is, of course, our wedding. He wants to go all out and hired a somewhat well-known wedding planner to arrange everything. Honestly, I'm pretty excited. I never dreamed of such a luxurious wedding, but now that it's happening, it feels like I'm living some wild dream I never even dared to have. Like textbook fairy tale. Recently, I was at a family gathering and was hanging out in the living room with my mom and Heather doing girl talk. My mom started asking me how the planning was going. When I told her about everything we were doing, I could see Heather go pale and then extremely red in the face. She was quiet for the rest of the night. The next day, Adrian called me and said that Heather was extremely upset and felt like I was trying to one-up her wedding. She said I was trying to upstage her because I never expressed desire for a fancy wedding before. He asked me if we could tone it down so it doesn't exceed the budget they had for their own wedding. I laughed because honestly, I couldn't believe what I was hearing, and then I naturally said no. He sounded upset and hung up. A few hours later, Heather calls and starts yelling at me, repeating mostly the same stuff, saying she knew I was jealous of her and I'm only with my fiance because he's rich and I want to rub it in her face. That made me snap and I said, if you're that obsessed with money, maybe you should have married someone else instead of my brother. If anyone's jealous of someone, it's you. She screamed at me and started crying before hanging up. Now Adrian is angry and calling me an a-hole for insinuating she shouldn't have married him. My parents think I was too harsh when I know she's always been material and are asking me to lower our wedding budget to appease her. I don't want to. My fiance definitely doesn't want to, but I don't know if that makes me an a-hole or not. Top comments. Not the a-hole. You should increase the budget for your wedding every time she complains about it. This made me laugh. I also think this would start World War III in our family, but otherwise, I would totally do that. Your parents are being ridiculous. Why on earth should you appease her? She's acting like a toddler. OP is definitely not the a-hole. It's a wedding, not a competition. And it's not like the sister-in-law is pitching in any money. I think that OP and her partner should spend as much money as they want to. Story 3. Am I the a-hole for not inviting a friend to my wedding due to her behavior at the last wedding she went to? I, 25 female, have a friend called Morgan, 27 female. Morgan and I have been drifting apart in recent years due to our differing opinions on how she handled the situation at our other friend, 25 female Lucy, wedding in 2019. Lucy had asked Morgan to make some desserts and sweet treats for the reception, and she agreed. This was the only food that was going to be at the reception other than cocktail sandwiches. They agreed on the price. For the sake of simplicity, let's say £500 for all the baked goods. This isn't what they actually offered, it was much more. Because when they organized this, Lucy and her partner were solely paying for the wedding. About 7 months before the wedding, Lucy's parents offered to pay for the remaining fees, which they took up. This meant they theoretically had more money to pay Morgan for the food she was making. This is how it looked on paper, but in reality, the money was swallowed up quickly by other fees and whatnot. I guess Morgan found out about the extra money at the wedding and tried to ask Lucy for more, but Lucy refused, because she literally didn't have it. Morgan wanted £2,000 now instead of $500, so she took all the baked goods and put them back in her truck, and so no one had anything to eat for most of the reception. Lucy was obviously having a breakdown, and her partner / the families of the married couple / all our friend group were trying to convince her to bring the food back in, but she refused. Luckily, some people went and ordered a ton of pizzas, burgers, milkshakes, etc., and the wedding was saved, but it caused so much unnecessary stress. I have sort of stopped talking to Morgan, but she is vaguely in the friend group because she's loosely related to Lucy, and she's been trying to get over it because they see each other at family gatherings. Anyway, I announced my engagement in December, and we're getting married in August 2023. Everyone but Morgan is invited. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but she has shown herself to be very vindictive and calculated in her malicious actions since this wedding debacle, and the last thing I want is her kicking off. We have a separate group chat that Morgan is not in, but she knows I'm getting married and is upset that she's not invited. She called me and asked why I couldn't invite her. I told her that 1, we're not friends. Even before Lucy's wedding, we're more acquaintances. And 2, her behavior at Lucy's wedding has made me doubt her maturity, and I want my day to be special. I know I can't prevent everything from happening at my wedding, but if I can remove one factor, someone who is known for being argumentative and vindictive, from my own anxiety, then fine. Now she's trying to convince Lucy to convince me to let her come. Morgan is super upset at me and my fiance. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Not the a-hole. Though I do think you should have kept Lucy out of it. You should have just left it as, I never thought of us as friends, and left it to that. Now you brought Lucy into more drama that she didn't need, when she seemingly is trying to patch it up. They still hang in family gatherings, and Lucy didn't push her out of the friend group when no one else likes her. So that kinda makes you a jerk, but not for not inviting her. But you should have apologized to Lucy for extending her drama. Though I do think you should have kept Lucy out of it. I guess I'm confused. Lucy is a close friend, and she's invited. Morgan reached out to me, and when I said she wasn't invited, she took it upon herself to ask Lucy to ask me. I haven't been keeping Morgan in the loop at all. We have a whole separate group chat, with no Morgan where wedding stuff stays. I mean by the I told her that her behavior at and after Lucy's wedding. That's why I'm saying you brought Lucy into it. Could have just left it. We're not friends, and this is a friend/family event. But if she was bugging Lucy beforehand, forget what I said. In my opinion, OP is definitely not the a-hole. If they are only acquaintances before the event even happened, I would say she has no reason to invite her. After this whole incident with Lucy's wedding, I can definitely see why she's not invited. Story 4. Am I the a-hole for pulling out of my sister's wedding due to her in-laws? For background, Stella and I are identical twins, 29 female. We will both be 30 when her wedding comes around this fall. I had her as my maid of honor 8 years ago, and she promised me that I could be hers when her wedding came around. I have 2 kids, 6 female and 3 female. They're the flower girls. My marriage fell apart just over 2 years ago due to a stillbirth and my husband's infidelity. My parents and sister were the only reason I didn't drown from the stress, loneliness, and total abandonment of my spouse. I was a total mess. I went to therapy, got diagnosed with bipolar disorder and depression, quit drinking, and I owe a lot of it to my amazing sister. She's the reason why I kept chasing down my ex for child support and he stopped suddenly paying. He suddenly switched from world's best dad to deadbeat dummy so quickly that my ex-mother-in-law is disgusted with him. Stella and John, 35 male, engaged last year. His parents are paying about 60% of the wedding. Our parents are paying about 30%. Stella and John paying for the rest themselves. The biggest caveat is that they must be married in John's family's church, full mass with communion. The family is on board because this is going to be a very big wedding. Tonight, Stella had invited me to dinner, as they had finally reserved a date for the church and reception, assuming it was to formally ask me to be her maid of honor. I was excited since I haven't been in a wedding party aside from my own wedding. John was with her. Weird because Stella didn't mention him coming at all in our texts about dinner. We hugged like usual, but John didn't. Weirder. After we got our drinks, they got to it. In a nutshell, John expressed the following. Despite my best efforts to keep it secret, my parents found out that you're divorced when they asked why your husband wasn't coming. They are no longer comfortable with you as maid of honor, because it won't look good to the church if the family hears about the divorce. You can be a bridesmaid, but can't mention the divorce or your conditions at all during the wedding events. I was stunned. I felt tears in my eyes. Stella started crying too, and she tried to spin it in a good way. This is way less stressful for you, so it's a good thing. Mother-in-law has already approved my best friend forever as my maid of honor, so please don't make this any harder. I knew that I couldn't possibly stay there through an entire meal. I had to process this new info alone. I didn't speak. I just paid for my wickedly expensive cocktail and left to order an Uber home. A few hours ago, I texted Stella that I would not be in her wedding at all. That was my decision. I wouldn't pull my daughters out, but I would only attend as a guest. She wouldn't take this as an answer, so I had to temporarily block her due to her excessive texts and calls. I sent my parents a summary of what happened and promised to call them when I was in better shape tomorrow. Stella thinks this is a total overreaction. I don't even want to know what John thinks at this point. Please help me. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Thank you for all the responses. I half expected to be told to just put up with it and be a plain bridesmaid, which, while difficult, I kind of would have forced myself to just make Stella happy. I was just so blindsided and I feel like I've been gut punched, and I do need to be told if I'm overreacting in a big way sometimes. I'm gonna fall asleep now while binging Friends, and wonder if my twin has suddenly become an Ursula instead of Phoebe. Edit 2. Wow, I did not expect this to blow up. I can't thank everyone enough for their input. I have a call scheduled with my parents this afternoon. From what I gathered, they are extremely upset with Stella and John at the moment. Depending on how that goes, I'll talk to my girls about doing something big and fun instead. The more I think about it, sitting through a mass sounds less and less appealing, not even religious. And I saw this query in the comments. Yes, I had a cocktail with no alcohol. They used the word mocktail, but I guess its meaning is still lost to some people. When I asked for a list of mocktails last night, the server was a little condescending about it and said they're still called cocktails if they're not alcoholic. Stop PMing me. I will not respond. I don't care how many people want me to drop my sister. I am overwhelmed as it is by all this. And especially stop messaging me because am I the a-hole bandy? Top comments. Not the a-hole. Honestly, I wouldn't let the kids be in this wedding either. They don't need to be subjected to the in-laws' high and mighty attitude. Yep, I would pull the kids out of the wedding and tell her you don't want her or her in-laws to make your children feel the way she has made you feel. This so much. As painful as it is, please don't allow your innocent kids to be props for Stella's in-laws. Their religion and conservatism do not take precedence over you and your kids' health and well-being. Hang in there, not the a-hole. I think it's strange that your sister's in-laws would allow you to be the bridesmaid but not the maid of honor. If they have a problem with the fact that you're divorced, it would still be the same whether you're the bridesmaid or the maid of honor. I wouldn't attend, and I wouldn't let my children attend either. Sounds like they're very judgmental people. Story 5. Am I the a-hole for not giving a wedding present I promised because I was uninvited? I, 32 male, was invited to a wedding of an acquaintance of mine named Molly a few months ago. I'm not super close to her or her fiance, but I love weddings, so I said, yeah, I'll go. Now the relevant part here is that I have a very good career and make an excellent living. Plus, I love giving gifts and splurging a bit. So I spoke with Molly and her fiance and promised them a custom-made gaming PC since they game together. They were very happy and thanked me a lot. Price of the PC would come out to be a little over $1,500, not counting the monitor I was willing to throw in. 2 months ago, Molly told me that unfortunately I had to be uninvited to the wedding as part of a cost-cutting measure. She apologized, but assured me it was only because of cost. I was upset, but let it go. Then I found out a week or so later from a mutual acquaintance that was still going that Molly told her she had to cut people because she needed the invites for some of the groom's family who had decided to come. I was pissed, so I decided not to give Molly the PC I promised. Molly's wedding happened 2 weeks ago, and from what I can tell, it was a nice ceremony. Afterwards, she actually texted me asking if we can talk about when the PC would arrive. I asked her if we could call. She said yes. I told her that since I didn't go to the wedding, that I wasn't going to get her a gift. We had a long argument where she said I was being petty and that I was holding it against her that I couldn't come and that I made a promise. I didn't tell her what I knew because I wanted to protect the person who told me. She called me a petty a-hole and complained to our friend group. I explained to a few select people the whole story. Most agreed with me, but some said that weddings cause people to make very tough decisions that aren't personal. Now I'm doubting myself. Maybe it wasn't personal and I'm just being petty. But she did lie to me and uninvited me while still expecting an expensive gift from me. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Edit. Hey everyone, I didn't expect this thread to blow up so much. I left it overnight and came back from work to find my inbox begging for mercy. Haha. Thanks for the responses everyone, I appreciate it. I've gained some real insight here, I appreciate it. Also, apparently this was posted on another sub, but they called it fake. I mean, I guess it can't change their mind, but please do know I have way better things to do than make fake stories and put them on the internet for clout. Anyway, I just have to say that I didn't feel entitled to be invited over the groom's family. I just didn't appreciate being lied to. Had she told me why she needed to cancel, then I wouldn't have minded as much. I just don't understand the need for subterfuge. Also, I know nothing about PC gaming. I'm a console gamer. I saw some people saying that the PC was cheap, so I'll explain. I looked up a gaming PC from a site called Digital Storm. I gave them a model, they liked it, and I ordered it. Also, I don't plan on stopping giving gifts, but I will probably scale back on the grandiosity. Hope that clears up stuff. Thank you all, you've been great. Top comments. Molly is delusional if she expects an acquaintance who is uninvited to still give a gift. Not the a-hole. There's honestly nothing else to say here. This is it. End of story. And a gift of that magnitude? Sheesh. That's the real reason she's pissed. If she was expecting a small gift from OP, there would be no issue here. She realized she lost out on an awesome gift, and she's pissed about it. I'm disappointed that OP didn't throw the "you made a promise" back in her face. She promised he could come to the wedding. I agree with the last comment. If she's not required to invite OP to the wedding, then OP is not responsible for bringing her a gift. Thanks for watching, and be sure to comment on whether or not you agree with the verdict. Also, feel free to check out my other channel, star_ving art. I also have an Etsy, Starving Art Company, where I sell my art prints and stickers. Thanks for watching.